And the top news coming from China, where in the signs of increasing focus of electric car makers in Asia, reports say Tesla has reached an agreement to open a factory in Shanghai, China. Earlier also, Tesla said it had grand ambitions for increasing its market share in China. Reports say Tesla is working with the Shanghai municipal government to explore the possibility of establishing a manufacturing facility in the Shanghai. So Tesla will open a factory in China. India, remember, was also vying for same plant. Now Tesla's increasing focus on Asia. Remember, PM Modi, when he had gone to US, had visited factory of Tesla. But Tesla hasn't come to US in India. In fact, it has gone to China. The factory would be set up in Shanghai's free trade zone. And vehicles would still be subject to an import tariff of 25% as far as China Tesla plant is concerned. And China currently has 200 million electric two-wheelers and 4 million electric vehicles, and China is world's largest electric vehicle market. Shanghai region will serve Chinese market as far as Tesla is concerned. Wall Street Journal reported that any future factory would be set up in Shanghai's free trade zone only, and Tesla vehicles would still be subject to an import tariff of 25%. But having a nearby factory could help company reduce transportation cost and give the company more immediate access to Chinese supply chain. It could also help it get favor with Chinese government, which has indicated that China might impose aggressive policies to favor electric vehicles over internal combustion cars in future. China already has the most electric passenger vehicles in the world. In 2016, more than 40% of all electric vehicles sold globally were in China. China already has 200 million electric two-wheelers and 3 million to 4 million low-speed electric vehicles and more than 300,000 electric buses. Now, solving manufacturing issues has become a critical component of Tesla's business in the recent years. Company has recently launched Model 3 that had a disappointing initial quarter due to inability to meet demand, which Tesla blamed on manufacturing subsystems taking longer to activate than expected. And to make up for a shortfall from the northern Kirkuk field, Iraq said it was increasing oil exports from the southern Basra region by 200,000 barrels per day. The output from Kirkuk fell this week when Iraqi forces took back control of oil fields from Kurdish fighters who had been there since 2014. The increase in Basra export keeps Iraq's total output within the quota agreed with the OPEC, which is Organization of Petroleum Exporting Countries. Earlier, an oil ministry official said Iraq would not be able to restore Kirkuk's oil output to last week's levels before Sunday because of missing equipment at two of largest fields in the region. Havana and Bai Hassan, they are the two regions. Now, until these shutdowns, northern oil region exported about 530,000 barrels per day, of which half came from semi-autonomous Kurdistan region and rest from the disputed Kirkuk province, claimed by both Kurds and Iraqi central authorities. And at a time, whole world is looking at China for crucial announcements. China's unemployment rate has hit its lowest point in multiple years at 3.95% by the end of last month. But employment still faces challenges as the economy pushes ahead with structural reforms. China is facing low unemployment rate in the face of an overall slowdown in the economy, and it is largely due to new internet economy and entrepreneurship. China will also actively support startups to help them thrive from 2015 to 2020. Every 1% increase in China GDP is expected to equal roughly 1.8 million new jobs. The Labour Ministry's announcement was made as part of a once-a 5-year Congress of ruling Communist Party, which opened last Wednesday and runs until this Tuesday. Now, the Congress Party sets broad policy directions and reshuffles top leaders as China's economy slows. Beijing has made increasing efforts to stave off mass unemployment that may spark social unrest in the country. And moving over to UK, where in signs of growing concerns over the economy, the number of profit warnings issued by British companies have jumped to 75 in the third quarter, the biggest quarterly rise in almost 6 years, as economic pressures weighed on retailers and support service companies. The business services group Ernst & Young said the spike came straight after one of the biggest falls recorded in the previous quarter when there were 45 warnings and is significantly ahead of average of 62 in the third quarter. Retailer Dixon's, Carphone and construction and support service firm Carillon were two of the biggest companies to warn in the period. The warnings have showed no sign of slowing in October too, with park operator Merlin Entertainments, engineer GK and Workspace Group, IWG and another support services company, Interserve, they all downgraded forecasts. And coming to India, where Japanese auto major Honda's two-wheeler arm has become aggressive in the market and its efforts are now paying off. Its two-wheeler arm, Honda Motorcycle and Scooter India, has raced past Bajaj Auto to become second biggest bike seller in India. So first is Hero, second is Honda, now the erstwhile partner, and third remains Bajaj Auto. Well, HMSI or Honda Motorcycle Scooter India, the motorcycle sales were up 19.8% and Bajaj Auto had sold 1.01 million motorcycle units in first half of the year. Market leader Hero, though, continued to hold on this segment. And Hero Motor sold a record 3.3 million two-wheelers in first half of the fiscal. HMSI or Honda Motorcycle Scooter India has lost the scooter segment to TVS Motor. There it is second, it was number one earlier. And in a move to reduce the burden on small and medium enterprises after introduction of GST or goods and services tax, Indian government may be planning a complete overhaul of the tax rates. Revenue Secretary Hasmukh Adhia has hinted at the complete overhaul of rates to reduce the burden on small and medium businesses. In an interview to PTI, he said goods and services tax, which amalgamate more than a dozen central and state levies like excise duty, service tax and VAT, will take about a year to stabilize, nearly 4 months since its introduction. The new indirect tax of GST threw up teething troubles and compliance issues, while the GST Council, highest decision-making body of the new regime, has addressed through several rounds of changes. Now, to ease hassles facing medium and small businesses in paying taxes and filing GST returns, it has tweaked various aspects of the new indirect tax regime to make it industry-friendly. Also, GST Council has rationalized rates on over 100 commodities and made refund process easier for exporters. And a typhoon has hit Japan and it is impacting its economy badly. Toyota Motor Corp, the largest car maker in Japan, will suspend operations at all of its assembly plants in Japan, including those of its subsidiaries, as a precautionary measure because a powerful typhoon has approached Japan's mainland. Well, tens and thousands of people across Japan were advised to evacuate. Hundreds of flights have been cancelled and rail services have been disrupted as heavy rain and wind lashed a wide swathe of the country. Experts say typhoon, which is forecast to strike near Tokyo, may cause an estimated $25 billion to $35 billion in damages. And moving back to US, where amid a raging debate over immigrants' rights in the US, nearly 24 major companies in tech and other industries are planning to launch a coalition to demand legislation that would allow young legal immigrants a path to permanent residency. Reports say the Coalition for American Dream intends to ask Congress to pass bipartisan legislation this year that would allow these immigrants, often referred to as dreamers, to continue working in the US. Alphabet's Google, Microsoft, Facebook, Intel, Uber, IBM, Marriott International and other top US companies are listed as members of this lobby group. The push for this legislation comes after President Trump's September decision to allow deferred action for childhood arrivals or DACA program to expire in March this year. That program, established by former President Barack Obama in 2012, allows approximately 900,000 illegal immigrants to obtain work permit. And at a time Kobe steel crisis has hit Japan, one of the major car players, Nissan, will halt all car production at its Japanese plants for 2 weeks to address issues with final inspection lines. It was revealed that at some plants, final inspections were performed by employees who were not certified to carry them out. The final inspection lines are the last quality control processes that complete vehicles go through on the assembly line, and Nissan's admission that between Jan 2014 and September 2017, this process was given to employees not certified to perform the task has sparked a planned recall of 1.16 million cars in Japan. Japanese Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transportation notified Nissan that in the final vehicle inspection process, certain checks were carried out by technicians not properly registered to perform those duties under Nissan's own processes. Let's go to markets, where Indian markets have opened in green after remaining closed for almost 4 days. And today, Sensex jumped more than 200 points in the morning. But as we talk now, Sensex is up around 105 points and Nifty is up by 35 points. So other Asian markets, Nikkei has clearly given a thumbs up to Abe's re-election, and Nikkei is up 254 points. Straits Times up 4 points. Hang Seng of Hong Kong, though, is in red, down by 191 points. So Asian markets are trading mixed, though all eyes were on Japan's elections and how it's going to reshape Japan. Nikkei is up 250 points over there. Indian markets, taking a cue from Asian markets, have opened in green once again, and Sensex is up. Let's briefly go to our market expert for today, and we'll talk to him what has happened to Indian markets, Mr. Pushkaraj, and he's joining us. Good morning to you, Mr. Pushkaraj. We would like to ask you the reasons for this kind of recovery in Indian markets and how long it's sustainable.
Good morning. It has been a kind of move that we have seen more to do with an extended weekend that we had. And correspondingly, what we probably see is more of a pullback kind of nature, wherein stocks with high weightage on the Nifty or the Sensex have moved up. While on the other hand, stocks which are at the VHS, what we can call as mid-cap and small-cap stocks, have actually started correcting since the time they have opened today. So I think a drifting kind of preposition looks quite likely, and markets on the Nifty, which are currently at a level of around 10,170, would probably see downside still 99.50 in coming week or 10 days time. So we are seeing a profit booking, and in our opinion, it's a welcome thing that is kind of happening through. What we have seen starting with the Murat session is basically a good profit booking happening, and it should go ahead with this.
All right, thank you so much for talking to us this morning and getting us all these details. And let's go to another big story. Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has secured a resounding mandate in general elections. After his resounding victory, Abe has said that he would firmly deal with threats from North Korea. Local media said that Abe's Liberal Democratic Party-led coalition, it won at 312 seats, thus allowing it to retain its two-thirds supermajority. The win will bolster his ambition to revise Japan's post-war pacifist constitution. It also means that his Abenomics growth strategy centered on hyper-easy monetary policy will continue.
今回ですね、私たちは北朝鮮の脅威にいかに対応していくか、いかに国民を守り抜くのか、そして少子高齢化をいかに乗り越えて子どもたちと日本の未来を切り裂いていくのかということについて集中的にお話をさせていただきました。つまり私は我々に対してまだ厳しい目線が注がれているということをですね、改めて認識をしたところでございますが。
And the leader of Constitutional Democratic Party in Japan and opposition party has also reacted to Abe's win. Let's listen to what reaction they had to give.
私の想像以上に多くの国民の皆さんがこれまでの政治というものの全体に、国民から遠いと自分たちからかけ離れたところで、何かやっているというそういう意識を強く持たれていたんではないかと。いうことを痛感をいたしています。特に現状民進党がどうされるのかということが、おそらく一種の現在進行形なんだと思いますし、そこから党を離れて 作った我々の立場から考えると、少なくともその状況がどうなるのかということが結論出るまでは、そことは対しては見守りたい。
And to discuss more on this, we are joined by Padma Rao, our senior foreign editor. Thanks for talking to us and joining us, Padma. First of all, we would like to ask you, what is Abenomics all about? We have been hearing about that. And is there a crying need for some urgent reforms in Japan? Please take us through all that.
Well, as the saying goes, desperate times call for desperate measures. Sumit, that's how I understand this three-pronged strategy which Prime Minister Shinzo Abe has been trying to put in place. Unfortunately, it's been not received very well so far by the Japanese public because it is, you know, a sort of twin-edged sword. I'll break it down very quickly. The first thing that he wants to do is to ease the monetary situation in Japan. As you know, Japan has faced almost zero growth for the last 20 years. And he intends, because consumers are saving, but they're not spending. There's depression, there's recession since the earthquake in 2012, and there is huge government debt. Now, what does Mr. Abe offer as a solution? He wants the National Bank to release more money into the markets so that people can start spending again. And he also wants, and that will also bring down the cost of Japanese exports. That is the one thing. Then the second thing he wants to do is introduce fiscal reform, because there is, you know, as we just saw the soundbite playing out, Japan's population is aging. Now, that is a twin sword, because on the one hand, it indicates that the health systems are very good, but on the other hand, an aging population means less of a labor force, or a smaller labor force. So he wants to increase welfare, so there's more welfare spending on the aging population, and also, as I mentioned, the debt, but there's no new source of income, but the debt has been growing. What he wants to do is to introduce a higher consumer tax to meet spending, to meet all these expenses. Also, not to forget the Olympic Games. There's massive infrastructure being built for the Olympic Games in 2020, which also costs a lot of money. And the third and last thing that he wants to do is to boost private investment. They have a very, very small female labor force. In fact, it's the lowest in the world. They want to make, they have a strong yen, but that's precisely because why exports are suffering.
Just another quick question from you, Padma. I would like to ask you how India is going to be impacted in a way, because India and Japan are close ties, and their ties have been known across the world now. PM Modi has led so much emphasis on so Mr. Abe's return to Japan, will it change anything, or this time will the ties be better? What does it mean for India?
Well, as we saw in the Nikkei index just now, the yen has dropped, which is actually good news for Japan's exports, because products become cheaper and more countries will be able to afford to import from Japan. Coming to India, now he has also promised, this boosting private investment also means that he wants to invite more foreigners to Japan. He also wants to fast-track residence visas. This means that there is bound to be a growing need for IT engineers from India to migrate to Japan, to go and work there for some time. And in fact, there is this plan being worked out that they will be taken there to work on the Olympics 2020 and then brought back to work on the bullet train project, which was initialed between the two prime ministers recently.
All right. Thank you so much for talking to us. And that's all today we have in this edition of WION Wallet. For more news and updates, stay tuned to WION, and thanks for watching us.